This is the April test 2024 G19. Here we go, sports fans. The commission was 20 on Monday, 20 on Tuesday, 60 on Wednesday, 60 Thursday, 60 Friday. I always write them all out. So what is the average of the 5 days? Well, how do you do average? You add up all the numbers and divide by the total. So it's 180, 200, 220 divided by 5. Answer C, 44. Number 2, see if y'all can keep up with me. The angle of the triangles add up to 180. So 95 plus 35 is 130. That means that this angle is 50 right here, huh? Which means that his next door neighbor also has to add up to 180 because it makes the half circle, huh? So the answer is H, 130. Here's a fun one. It has to do with variable expressions. I bought dog collars for $4 each. That means 4 times however many I'm going to buy, huh? In this case, it ends up being X. I technically don't know that yet. There's a handling fee of $5 total, no matter if I buy 100 collars or a million. So how much money, why will I spend? Well, I'll spend $4 times the number of collars plus the 5 for the commission. Correct answer, D. Having fun yet? Number 4. A certain rectangle, oh, it's not even a variable, y'all. It has a width of 6, so you can make either one 6, and then a length that is 4 more than 2 times. So you just take the 6 and do what? You times it by 2, which is 12, plus 4 is 16. Now look at the question. What is the area of said rectangle? 16 times 6, answer K. Number 5 is one of our class programs. You could use the ABS button on math on your calculator. If you got too much pride for that, you could do this minus -3. Absolute value is always positive, so the answer is B, -2. Number 6 is negative distributor, so it's 8p minus 3q. This negative is going to change the sign of both of them, right? So it's minus 2q minus 6p. Add the like terms. 8p is 6p minus 9. Wait, oh, I did it wrong. 8p minus 6p is 2p minus 5q, huh? The correct answer there is F. Ratio proportion. So how many minutes will it take an airplane to travel 300 miles? This is ratio proportion. So I'm traveling at 400 miles in 1 hour, but they're asking for minutes. How many minutes are in an hour? So I'm going to go 400 miles in 60 minutes, huh? So I'm going to go 300 miles in X minutes, huh? So you cross multiply and divide. So it'd be 400 X equals 30, 300 times 60, which is 18 with 3 zeros, huh? So the answer would be 18,000 divided by 400, I get 45. It would be A. I just realized there's probably a lot of better ways to do that, and those watching this video can figure those out. Number 8 is power to a power. So what do you do when a power is raised to a power? You multiply. Answer G. 9 is function notation. F of 4 means when I replace X with 4, I get the answer 9. So which one of these? It's just trial and error. It can't be these. They would not give me 9. But the first one, A, 4 squared is 16 minus 7 is 9. So the answer there is A. For some of y'all, that would be a STO. You could go 4 STO X on the calculator and get it done by plugging in. On the first day of school, Mr. Thibodeau gave me 9 words to spell. Every day after that, he gave me 6. So how many words will I have on the 30th day? Well, I only got 6, not for all 30 days. I only got 6 for 29 days. Huh? So it's 6 times 29 plus 9. Another cheater way would have been to just go 6 times 30, which is 180, and then realize, oops, I got 9 words the first day, not 6. So you could add 3 and get 183. I'm always for cheating when you can get away with it. Number 11, solve this equation. So 3x minus 6 over 2 would equal what? 13, huh? Then I would times everybody by 2. 3x minus 6 is 26. So I add 6, and I get 32 over 3, huh? Which is B. For those of you playing with me, the 11 is also an equation solver. So you hit math, last, solver. That's a big part of our class, is to use that solver button. All right, what are we doing? We're on a highway, and we pass mile marker 117, and that's 20 minutes later we pass mile marker 97. That means I've traveled 20 miles, the subtraction of them. So I traveled 20 miles in 20 minutes. They want to know how many miles I will travel in an hour or 60 minutes, huh? So all I have to do is times by 3. You could cross multiply, divide, and that's H. 13 is a tough question. Which of the following must be true? And you got to know your corresponding angles. The answer is E, because 8 would be equal to 2, and 2 would be equal to its vertical 5. So the answer is E. If you look at the other ones, they're really not related to parallel. There was one sucker answer in there about 3 being equal to 10. 10 right here would be equal to 2, not 3, because it's alternate interiors, or what we call in geometry alternate interiors. I call it the Z theorem, because you could make a Z out of the angles. But it wouldn't be 10 and 3, y'all. It would be 10 and 2. That was a tough question, because if you went through all of them, none of them make sense except for E. What's this? This is just midpoint formula. So all you have to do is put those 2 ordered pairs into my midpoint program, and it'll give you the ordered pair H. This one confused me, but I realize I'm spending all this money. I'm spending $150, $450, so that ends up being $600 spent for the thing. It says I want to raise $300, so I need to pay for all of my expenses and what I want to raise. I want to really raise $900, huh? And how many people are showing up? 500. So I take the 900 and divide by 500, and I get $1.80. This is a fun one. Which of the following has the greatest? Well, everybody, no matter what formulas and all that, I started to go, oh God, I could never do all this. They all fit inside of G. You could take any of these figures and place them inside of G and get the answer. Look for some word problems on Canvas. All right, here we've got Ann's grade point average, and it's fooling you with all this matrix stuff. Ann is just a person who makes what? 1A. And you're supposed to grid it with this, so she gets 5 points. Ann makes 3 B's. 3 4s is 12, and she makes 2 C's, which is 2 times 3, 6. So Ann scores 23 points in her 5 classes. Take that, that's your grade point. It's 3.83. Okay? Moving right along, this is a circle equation. The circle equation is center squared, that's 0. Y squared, that's 0, is r squared. So the radius here has to be 4, so it has to fit on this point. If I were to graph that, I would center it at 00 and go out 4 units left, right, up, down. 19. It's 450 miles, and I've already driven 180. So how many miles are left? 270. Now I want to make the trip in 9 hours, and I've already burned how many? 180 miles at the speed of. So 180 divided by 60, sorry, is 3 hours. So I've already burned 3 hours. I want to make the trip in 9, so I have 6 hours left. And the answer to this is A, 45. 20 is a repeat problem. It's plug and chug. Who has a remainder of 3 when divided by 5? Well, 18. When I divide it by 5, I get 3. So that fits the bill. It has a remainder of 3. But when I divide it by 6, it would have no remainder. So that's not the right number. Keep trying. The right number is 28. 28, when I divide it by 5, would have a remainder of 3. And 28, when I divide it by 6, 6 times 4 is 24, would have a remainder of 4. That's a few times that question's been asked. It always seems to be the third choice. Ha ha. Hint, hint. This is the snowman question, and it has 3 different, very different informations. They're talking about the rate of the snowfall, 3/4 inch per hour, starting at 8 a.m. They're talking about building a snowman, so there's a small ball and a big ball, huh? And the larger snowball is 3 times the diameter of the smaller one, huh? And then they're talking about chances of rain and it melting. The questions follow. After how many hours are there 6 inches of snow? So it's going to fall 3/4 of an inch in 1 hour. So it's going to fall 6 inches in X hours. So the answer ends up being 3/4 X equals 6. So you would multiply and get 8 hours. Now be careful. Is 8 the answer? Oh, after how many hours? I was thinking they were going to ask the time, and it's just the answer. 21 is E. Now this one you got to be smart. The circumference of the larger snowball. Circumference, as you might know, is 2 pi r. We get the answer 36 pi. So the radius of the snowball is 18. You could have also used circumference of a circle program and plugged in numbers till you got it. So you would have to go backwards. Now 18 ain't the answer. 18 is the radius of the bigger snowball. So the radius of the smaller snowball is 6. And be careful, they're asking for the diameter of the snowball, so you'd have to double it. to get the diameter. Probability that the snowman will melt, well, there's a 50% chance of rain. If it rains, which is 50% of the time, the snowball will melt 60%. The snowman will melt 60% of the time. I'm reading that from here. So there's a 50% chance of rain. And then if it does not rain, which is a 50%, there's a 10% chance that the snowman will melt. So that's the other 50%. So it's sort of like percentage of. If you do all that math, you will get the answer. So it's 0.5 times 0.6, which is like 30% of the time, and 0.5 times 0.1 is 0.05% of the time. Add those percentages together, and what do you get? You get 35%. Okay? Note that well. They haven't been asking snowman all the time, but they're asking combined probability. This is it raining and melting. This is it not raining and melting. Together, that makes 100% of the time. This is just the sample. The sample was 15 fish, 5 were tagged. So that's all they're asking. Usually that's a proportional problem, but here they're just asking for the sample. The sample's, I forget what you call that in statistics, but it's 5 out of 15. One watch gains 2.5 minutes. The other one loses 1.25. So if you add that up, that's how much they're separating, which ends up being 3.75. And then how long will it take them to be 60 minutes apart? It's just 60 minutes divided by how much they separate per hour. And the answer there is 16. Volume of a prism. That's the box program, is just length times width times height. So A is 48, B is 36, and C is 12. So the difference between the prism A and the volume of prism B, so the difference of those two, is 12. So it's how many times the volume of C. It equals the volume of C. So the times there will just be times 1, answer G. Conjugate, you might have studied this in math. It's the number you multiply that gets rid of the I. So what do you have to do? You have to change the sign in the middle. A very popular problem. Some of you may use double stow. You'll do that and then type that, or just plug it in and get 7. Then what do you do with the 7? Stow it again and plug it into that. The answer is K25. It's a double plug-in. 29 is, they do this a lot in different ways. The 3AB is forked. That is, it's not divided into the first. It's not divided into the second. It's divided into both the first and the second. So you get 7A plus what? 2B. So the answer is E right there. 30 confused the behoozes out of me. We're going back 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So when we express the number as 2 to the n, we're moving forward 4. So the forward means backwards on the decimal, back 4. So times 10 to the negative 4. Turn them into decimals. 0.6, 0.08, and 5/8 is 625. Who's the biggest? That. Who's second? And who's third? 0.08. So be careful reading this. It's from least to greatest. So you go first, you go second, and you go last 5/8. So that's just turning 5/8 into a decimal and going from there. Now this one a little confusing. The two-digit number can be any of the three. So it could be any of these. In other words, how many possibilities? 3 numbers can go in the first block, 3 numbers can go in the second block. It's any of those 9 possibilities. So what is the chance that it'll be 99 is G, 1 out of 9. Tangent theta. Tangent, SOHCAHTOA, program chief. TOA is 5 over root 39. Then you use program hypot. Entering these 2 numbers, it'll get you the hypotenuse of 8. Then, what's the sine of theta? Back to chief. It's the opposite over the hypotenuse. The ratio is 5 to 8, B. This one was y plus 8 cubed. It's a sucker problem. You have to FOIL it and then get the answer to the FOIL and multiply that by y plus 8. So it's a double FOIL. It doesn't take long to realize that the first term is y cubed, and the second one is going to be 16y squared plus 8y squared, 24y squared. We're going the distance with this. It's going to have all of these terms. It's going to be f. Average is total. So I've said this many times. If you've got 4 numbers whose average is 88, then the sum is the total of that, 352. Now, what happens? I kick out the 50 and add the 70. So I kick out minus the 50 and add the 70. That's adding 20 to the total. So the new total is 372, and the average is 372 divided by 4, which will be C. Smart people, the difference is 20. That's how much you're adding divided by 4. So you're adding 5 to the average. That's how you get 93 faster. All right, now this is a classic. You subtract 7 and you divide by -2. That switches the arrow. So the answer is F, less than -6. The arrow switches whenever you divide by a negative. Classic problem, careful. The square side is not 4, it's 8. So it's the whole area of the entire thing minus the donut hole, a classic math problem. So that shaded region right here is the whole area, 8 by 8, minus the area of the circle program, which will give you 16 pi if you put the radius of 4. So the answer there is D, 64 minus 16 pi. Sucker, length of A is equal to the length of B. But the width of A is 3 less than B, so it's 3 twice, minus 3 minus 3. They'll have the same perimeter, because these are the same, right? It's just the widths are 3 less, so it's twice 6. Hope that made sense. area would be, I cannot tell. A power to a power, so we multiply 4 times 5/4, and then we multiply 5 times 2/5. Power to a power, you multiply. Power times a power, you add. So the answer is 5 plus 2, 7. The x, of course, is sitting there as the base. This one was a bit of a head scratcher. The 8 feet I just turned into inches. So it's 96 inches. And now I have to subtract all this. So I subtract 3 feet. I subtract 6. I subtract 2 feet, which is 24, and another 3, and another 1/8, and another 1/8. And you end up getting 26.75. And that's going to be, whenever I get 26.75, I scratch out the 12s this way. I subtract 12. That's 1 foot. I subtract 12 again, and you get 2 3/4 left. So 2.75 left. That's how I got the answer G for number 40. This is an LCM. It's the LCM of 30 and 50. Think about it. What caller, when is somebody going to call this and get the price twice? It's the LCM of 35 and 50. Now this is tricky. You hit 35, 50, 50, and it gives you an LCM of 350. So that means the 350th caller is going to win both prizes. Now, that means the 700th caller times 2 is going to win both prizes. And then the next time that happens, it'll be outside of 1,000. It'll be 1,050. So how many times does it happen? Twice. Once the 350 and once the 700th. The third time is out of bounds. 42. $1 is X units of the foreign country. So how many units of the foreign country will be Y dollars? You keep your dollars with your dollars, and you keep your foreign currency with the foreign currency. So $1 is X, Y dollars is the question mark. I started to put X and realized I used X already. Cross multiply. So 1 times question mark is X times Y. Glad I had a mathematical formulaic idea there. That would have come to me difficult. This one's tricky. This is 60, so this is 120, which makes this 30, which makes the bottom, the right side triangle isosceles. So if this is 100, isosceles triangle theorem, the side opposite the 30 is 100. Now you're dealing with a 30, 60, 90 right triangle. The side opposite the 30 is half the hypotenuse, so this bottom side is 50. And then you could do Pythagorean theorem or know the rule. The 60 side is √3 times the 30 side. So the answer would be 50 √3. This is the old list. Remember, you can't have an x double dipping. So if x is 3, that means the point would be 3, 4 and 3, 6. it would fail the vertical line test. There are two different y's paired with 3. That's the answer H. They could also do that graphically to y'all and say, is this a function? And the answer would be no, it fails the vertical line test. I've been seeing both on the tests. All right, here we go. There are 3 juniors for every 1 senior. That means there's 3 juniors for every 4 people and 1 senior for every 4 people. That means the juniors are 75% of the group. So 80% of those passed. And then for the seniors, that's 1 out of 4. 1 out of 4 is 25%. 70% passed. Crunch those numbers. This is the juniors. This is the seniors. Add them up, and I think you get something like 875 or 775. Let me see. I'm sorry. I better type those in. I'm doing this without my normal calculator. So 0.75 times 0.8 plus 0.25 times 0.7 gives me 775. Now be careful, that means 77.5% passed. Not percentage, not probability, is 1 minus the answer. So it's 22 and a half of those that did not make it. Okay? This one is a classic. There are 50 shoppers polled. So 50 people in my universe. 31 owned a dog. 20 owned a cat. So you should be going, that's too many. 51 out of 50. But that's because 7 own both, huh? So 7 people are in this precious middle, which means you could subtract here. That means 24 have a dog but no cat, and 13 have a cat and no dog. Now that's 44 people, which means 6 own neither, huh? 31, 44, 6 are neither, and they told me that they didn't have to. So, of the 50 people polled who owned at least a dog but did not own a cat, is this number right here, right? Because there's 7 in the middle, so you subtract 7 from the 31. What is the probability that you own at least a dog or a cat? That's everybody. That's all these people. So it's 44 out of 50. Matha-fracka. It'll reduce it for you. Matha-fracka gives me the answer, 22 out of 25. Now this one, you have to use some multiplication. Those who owned at least a dog were given 1 dog toy for $4. So that's 31 people times 4, huh? Now what? If you owned a cat, you got 3. So that's 20 times 3. That's 124 plus 60. That's $184, right? And then we were giving a gift card of value G if you own neither. So that's, I'm going to spend 124 of this for the do, and then plus 6G to get a total, huh? The T is the total I spent. So I spent 184 plus 6 times whatever that gift card was, huh? And naturally, they want to solve for the gift card. So I subtract 184 and divide by 6. Huh? So it would be answer K, T minus 184, and then you divide by 6. Ratio proportion. 5A is to 3A. That's the similar as 7b is to x. So cross multiply, 5ax is 21ab. Easy cheesy. Divide by 5a, and you get 21/5 b for the answer. Similar triangles is automatic proportion. I pair these two up. 5a is to 3a, as 7b is to x, and then solve for x. All right, this one is, I'm going to label all 7 rows in my class, and each of the rows has a seat, 1, 2, 3, 4. So what's the probability that I draw row 5? Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows, so it's 1 out of 7 would be row 5. And then not seat 1, so there's 4 seats. 3 of them are not seat 1, huh? And you times the probability. It's probability and, just like the percentage problem with the snowman, there was another one I just forgot, but you times the probabilities, times that on your calculator, Mathafracca. Log program will get this, but also you've got math log base. You can plug that straight into math log base. The answer is 3. I'm sorry, 4. 4, because 5 to the 4th is 625. 5 to the 3rd is only 125. Y'all know how to do logs, huh? It's 5, the base, to what power gives you 625. A lot of elaborate ways, but we've got the calculator now. Plug that into math log base. Hit math first. It's down toward the bottom, log base. Okay, this is an important point to make. Anything squared is always positive. 7 is always positive. X squared is always positive. So if this is going to be negative, the y has to be negative. So the answer, oh, I said it and wrote the wrong answer. This is y greater than 0. It's J, y'all. Y has to be less than 0. Ouch. I'm getting tired. This one is factor cancel. On the top, there's a common B. On the bottom, there's a common 6. So C minus D cancels. That's why you have this. If C equals D, we would be dividing by 0, and that's illegal. So the only way this is true, kind of like the last problem, is if B is negative, huh? So B has to be a negative number to make this true, huh? B over 6, the only survivor, is only going to be negative if B is negative. All right, this is when you do 2 to a power and that power is a negative, or 2 to the k rather, and that number is a negative, it becomes fractions. Think about it. 2 to the negative 1 is 1/2. 2 to the negative 2 is 1/4, and so forth and so on. So it's all positive less than 1. You could have also done that by graphing. You could have hit y equals 2 to the x. It'll look like that. All the answers are the y values on the right that I just circled, less than 1. I almost suckered this one out. This looks like the law of sines, but the angle needs to go on top. So switch the A and the capital A, and that would be right. It's law of cosines, and it's going to be E. Side squared is the other 2 squares. Who knows the law of cosines? Minus twice their product, cosine of the leader. He who is first is last, is what I teach the class. So if this was A squared first, this would be the cosine of A, law of cosines. This one, I remember my students coming back from it were a little confounded, but it's not bad. A is 6 events. Now, those events could be me drinking a cup of coffee. It's just 6 random events. Number 5 could be me going to a ball game tonight. Number 6 could be me preparing for this hurricane that's about to hit us. Okay? It's 6 events. And B contains 3 events. None of them are in A. So the B events are unique. Huh? Now, C is union. What's union? That's everybody. So it's 1 all the way to 9. And then D is the intersection. Well, who's in both A and B? Nobody. So D is empty. So which of the following has to be true? D's got to go on the end. C has to go at the beginning. C is the biggest group. D is the smallest group because D is nobody. They had nothing in common. Answer J. To the bitter end. A square pyramid has a sides of 20, and then the slant height is the height running from the top down to the middle is 15. So what do you have to make the area? You have a square base, that's 20 times 20, 400, plus 4 triangles that are all area of triangle. It ends up being 150. So the answer is 1,000, 400 plus 600. Surface area here is 1 square plus how many? 4 triangles. Try as you might, you're not going to get a positive prime number. So the answer is 0. Think about it. If x starts at 1, that's no good. 1 minus 1 is 0. And then all the first few are negative. By the time you start plugging in 5, 6, 7, and 8, one of the numbers is going to be odd, and the other one is going to be even. Think about plugging in 9. 9 would give me that. Well, how can that be prime, folks? Because it's got an even number. 2 definitely goes into it. Think about plugging in 117 or 118. One of them's going to be even. One of them's going to be odd. This one's tricky. You got to know that the bottom can't be 0. So 1 plus secant can't be 0, which means secant can't be -1. Secant is the flip of who? Cosine. So cosine can't be -1. Cosine can't be 180. And who knows their formulas for a geometric progression? Why is it geometric? Each one is 3 times more than the one before. So what's the formula? AR to the n minus 1. Who's A? The first term is a half right here. Who's R? 3 to the n minus 1. Answer J. That concludes this hurricane lesson, April G19.